Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Fantasy Football Strategist. In today's video, Anthony Richardson has been cleared to go with no limitations in practice. This is coming off of AC joint surgery, so this is fantastic news for him. We're going to go over a couple of advanced metrics from this past season and what we might be able to project from him in 2024. Please remember to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. In an article written by Adam Wells of Bleacher Report, Colts GM Anthony Richardson to practice without limitations after injury recovery. The article begins, as the Indianapolis Colts veterans report to training camp on Wednesday, Anthony Richardson will be a full practice participant when the offense takes the field. General Manager Chris Ballard told reporters he's not expecting any limitations right now for Richardson following his shoulder surgery in October. It didn't seem like there would be any restrictions on Richardson after he started throwing again in February and took part in organized team activities in May. Anthony Richardson is then quoted as saying, "Now I feel like myself again. Throwing 60-plus yards." It does go on to state that he's been dealing with some soreness, which is to be expected when you have AC joint sprain surgery, so no news in that regard at least. But this is absolutely fantastic news. He is one of those quarterbacks who has limitless potential due to his rushing upside, but he obviously, at least for the longevity of his career, does need to improve as a passer. And that's blatantly obvious. He does have his limitations in the air, not by virtue of arm strength by any means, but in terms of layering of throws and just general accuracy, especially short accuracy. But if there is one coach who's going to be able to mask that, it's absolutely Shane Steichen. Looking at Anthony Richardson's profile, he's 6'4", 244 pounds, so he is a massive human being at quarterback. But he also possesses 95th percentile inch hands, which really helps him with his deep ball. He does have a rather nice deep ball despite the general lack of accuracy across the field. And at just 22.1 years old, it's not as if he's really reached his maximum potential or anything, especially as a passer. During the combine, he astonished everybody. He had 4.43 40-yard dash speed. For someone that's 6'4", 244 pounds, that is absolutely insane. He also has a 99th percentile burst score, which is his vertical and broad jump combined. This guy is an explosive athlete. Looking into a couple of metrics that are really going to help provide you with the idea of what his rushing floor is going to be for you. He was 8th among quarterbacks in carries per game with 6.3. Obviously, Shane Steichen knows his strengths, and he's going to utilize him to his strengths. And most importantly, his 2.0 red zone carries per game were 3rd in the NFL among quarterbacks. That means his rushing touchdown upside potential is record-setting. He was also 5th in rushing yards per game with 34. So not only does he provide massive touchdown upside, he provides you with a very safe rushing floor. I mean, that's an average of 3.4 points per game just from rushing yards alone. And despite only playing 4 games, he finished with 4 rushing touchdowns, which was still 7th in the NFL among quarterbacks. And despite the small sample size, he was on pace for 17 rushing touchdowns this past season. That would have broken the record just set this past season by Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts with 15. He would have had 17 at that rate. You want to talk about massive upside? That is absolutely massive upside. Another thing to like, his .73 fantasy points per dropback led the NFL this past season. Considering his really lack of polish in the passing game, that's absolutely impressive. In fact, in 2 of his 4 games, he was a top 4 quarterback finisher. And in one of the finishes in which he wasn't a top 4 quarterback, he only played 30% of the snaps, and he still had 17 fantasy points. So yes, he does have an injury history. There are not recurring injuries per se to the same part of the body, so that is a good thing. But once again, you really can't predict injuries. There are players like Evan Ingram, who was hurt every year, it seemed like basically his entire career, and then the past 2 years he's been fully healthy. Really, you don't want to play a game of betting on injuries in fantasy football. You want to bet on maximum upside. As I said earlier, Anthony Richardson was on pace to break the rushing touchdown record. He's likely to improve as a passer, at least gradually. He's connected to Shane Steichen, which for 2024 fantasy football is fantastic, and for Dynasty, if he's able to improve as a passer, it's fantastic. It means you don't have to worry about him leaving them, at least pretty reasonably. Then they drafted A.D. Mitchell to be a vertical X threat, to be the threat that Alec Pierce never was. They still have Josh Downs for the slot, and they have Michael Pittman as a big Z. They have a couple decent tight ends. Jelani Woods should be a red zone threat. And obviously his running back, Jonathan Taylor, is fantastic as well, although he's dealt with injuries and did hold out for a contract this past season, so his fantasy finishes haven't been as great. But that's a fantastic, fantastic situation to be in. And their offensive line is rather good as well. All in all, he possesses some of the most upside imaginable at quarterback. In redraft, he is being drafted as the QB6 behind C.J. Stroud. The difference in the maximum upside between the two is absolutely massive. C.J. Stroud essentially has no rushing upside in any way, shape, or form. He might get lucky and have a couple rushing touchdowns, but really, he's more of a safe quarterback than a max upside quarterback. So I would absolutely draft Anthony Richardson ahead of C.J. Stroud in a redraft format. And in Dynasty, he's going as the QB7, which I think is fair. If you want more security at the quarterback position, you could maybe argue with Jordan Love, although he's only had half a season of real production as well. But if you're looking for the maximum upside to win you your fantasy championships, Anthony Richardson could easily finish as the QB1 and by a large margin. So I personally am a believer in Anthony Richardson. He generally doesn't make the same mistakes twice. Oh, another fun fact, he only threw one interception in the 4 games in which he played, and he only lost 1 fumble. So in 4 games as a rookie quarterback that was deemed as really raw, and he was somewhat raw, don't get me wrong, only 2 turnovers is absolutely fantastic. Turnovers are one of the easiest ways for you to get benched as a quarterback, and he really doesn't turn the ball over very much. He actually has great pocket awareness as well. So all in all, I do believe in Anthony Richardson, and I think you should too, especially in 2024 fantasy football. In Dynasty, if he can improve his passing mechanics and get a little bit better touch, especially in the short area of the field, he could be a perennial top 3 QB at the position. But what do you think? Do you believe in Anthony Richardson? Do you not believe in Anthony Richardson? Let me know in the comment section. With that being said, I'm the Fantasy Football Strategist, your NFL breaking news source, and the Dynasty and redraft implications behind said breaking news. I am building a library of information with which you can use to dominate your redraft and Dynasty leagues in 2024 and beyond. Please remember to like and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you and have a good day.